Imagine this, a chessboard in the middle of a storm. The pieces tremble under the weight of chaos, yet the king stands still, unshaken. That's you. Always steps ahead. They think they've cornered you, but oh, how wrong they are. You've been watching, waiting, calculating. Every move, every betrayal, every game. They thought they were in control, but you're not a piece on their board. You're the one turning the board upside down. You see, the thing about games is that they're built on rules. Rules that cage the ordinary. Rules that dictate how the pawns move, how the queens dominate, how the knights jump through hoops. But what happens when you stop playing by their rules? When you realize the game isn't about winning. It's about watching the players destroy themselves. They think they're clever, don't they? The way they smile, oh, those fake plastic grins, stretched so thin you could see the lies bleeding through. They whisper their schemes, their petty plots, thinking you're none the wiser. But you've always seen through them, haven't you? Like a magician who knows every trick before the sleight of hand even begins. They thought they could dazzle you with their illusions, but they forgot. You're the one who owns the mirror. Oh, they played you. Whispered sweet lies wrapped in honey-coated promises. They smiled as they sharpened their knives, ready to stab you the moment you turned your back. But what they didn't see was your reflection in the blade, grinning back at them. Because every move they made, every trap they set, only tightened the noose around their own necks. You let them think they were the hunters, but you were always the predator. Let's talk about the masks they wear. Smiles that stretch too wide, eyes that dart like rats in the dark. They think you don't see it, the cracks in their facade. But you've always been good at spotting cracks, haven't you? You've learned to trace the lines of their deception, to follow the web back to the spider. And when the time comes, you don't just tear the web apart. You burn it to ashes. Because it was never about catching the spider. It was about letting it know you've been watching all along. Do you hear it? That laughter echoing in the distance? It's not yours, not yet. But it will be. Oh, it will be. They underestimated you. That's their greatest sin. They thought they could pull strings and watch you dance. Oh, how they loved to see you stumble, to laugh at your missteps. But you were never their puppet. You were the shadow behind the curtain, the unseen hand that wrote the script. While they played their little games, you were crafting the rules of an entirely new one. And the best part? They never even saw it coming. You've always known how to read people, not their words. Words are cheap, after all. No, you read the tension in their shoulders, the twitch in their lips, the hesitation in their eyes. You saw their fear before they even knew it themselves. Fear of losing control, fear of being exposed, fear of you. Because deep down, they've always known you're different. Not a player, not a pawn, but the storm that shatters the board. You remember that moment, don't you? The one where they thought they had you pinned. Oh, the arrogance. The smug satisfaction in their eyes as they moved their pieces, certain of their victory. But you let them have it, didn't you? Let them bask in their delusion. Let them think they'd won. Because what's the fun in crushing someone who doesn't even realize they've already lost? You waited, you watched, and then When the moment was right, you struck. Not with anger, not with rage, but with precision, like a blade sliding through the dark, unseen, until it's too late. They played on your kindness, didn't they? Used it as a weapon against you, twisting it into weakness. But kindness isn't weakness. It's a choice, a controlled burn that keeps the wildfire at bay. And when they pushed too far, when they mistook your silence for submission, they learned the truth. Kindness has its limits. And when it breaks, it doesn't crumble. It erupts. Oh, and the games they played. The sweet manipulations, the poisoned compliments, the calculated betrayals. They thought they could map your mind, predict your steps. But your mind is a labyrinth, dark and twisting, filled with traps they'll never escape. Every time they thought they were leading you, they were only walking deeper into your maze. And when the walls closed in, when the exit disappeared, they realized too late that the only way out was through you. You watched them falter, didn't you? Saw the cracks form in their confidence, the panic behind their eyes. Oh, they'll never admit it, of course. They'll cling to their pride, their delusions of control. But you know better. You always do. Because while they were busy plotting and scheming, you were learning, studying, preparing. Every misstep they took, every mistake they made, you cataloged it all. And when the time came, you used it against them. Not out of spite, no, out of necessity. Because they needed to learn, didn't they? They needed to understand that playing games with you, well, that's a mistake they only get to make once. Let's not forget their desperation. Desperation to control you, to cage you, to keep you beneath them. It's almost funny, isn't it? Watching them scramble, clutching at straws while you stand there, unmoving, unbothered. They'll never admit it, but the truth terrifies them. The truth that no matter how many moves ahead they think they are, you're always one step further. Not because you're faster, but because you're smarter, because you see the board for what it is, an illusion of power designed to fool the weak. They thought they were the architects of your downfall, but you were never building what they thought. While they stacked their cards, you were digging tunnels beneath their foundations, waiting for the perfect moment to pull the rug out from under them. And when their house of lies collapsed, you didn't even have to lift a finger. You just stood there, watching, as they crumbled under the weight of their own arrogance. And here's the irony. They wanted to break you. They wanted to see you shattered, lost, defeated. But every crack they created only made you sharper, stronger. They don't understand that some people aren't made of glass. They're forged in fire. Every betrayal, every game, every twisted move only added fuel to your flames. And now, those flames are an inferno, consuming everything in their path. You've always been a step ahead because you understand something they never will. The game isn't about winning or losing. It's about understanding the players, seeing through their masks, and knowing when to strike. You don't just play the game, you become it. And when you do, the players don't even realize they're already trapped. They're too busy looking for the rules, the patterns, the logic. But there is no logic to chaos. And you are chaos incarnate. So let them play their games. Let them plot and scheme and think they're in control. Because the moment they think they've won is the moment you've already moved on to the next board. And this time, you're not playing. You're watching, waiting, smiling. Because you know something they don't. The game isn't over until you say it is. Oh, they thought it was over, didn't they? Thought they'd played their last card, moved their final piece, and walked away victorious. But what they didn't realize is that the board was still shifting beneath their feet. Every step they took, every self-congratulatory smirk they wore, only served to tighten the trap. Because you weren't playing by their rules. No, you'd created a game of your own, one they didn't even know they were part of. Do you remember the moment they tried to rewrite the story? Tried to paint you as the villain in their little fairy tale? Oh, the irony. Villains, heroes, such childish labels. They never understood, did they? The world isn't black and white. It's a storm of grays, swirling and twisting, never still. They thought they could define you, contain you within their limited imagination. But you're the storm, the thunder in their carefully curated skies, the lightning that shatters their illusions. Oh, they thought they were clever, spinning their web of lies, hoping to ensnare you. But what happens when the spider finds itself trapped? You watch them weave their threads, strand by strand, thinking they were pulling you closer. But every thread was just another strand in the net, tightening around their own throats. You didn't fight it. No, you let them believe they were winning. Because sometimes the most satisfying victory isn't about striking first, it's about striking last. They underestimated your patience, didn't they? Thought your silence was submission, your stillness a sign of surrender. But patience isn't weakness. It's a weapon, a sharpened blade hidden beneath a calm exterior, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. While they scrambled to make their moves, you stood still, watching, learning. Every step they took only revealed more of their weaknesses, their fears, their flaws. And when the moment came, you didn't just expose them, you obliterated them. Let's talk about fear, shall we? Oh, it's such a delicious thing. They tried to wield it against you, to make you doubt yourself, to corner you in the shadows of their own making. But fear doesn't work on someone who has already walked through the fire. You faced the worst of it, haven't you? The betrayals, the heartbreaks, the nights so dark they swallowed everything. And yet, here you are, standing, breathing, smiling. Fear doesn't consume you anymore. It fuels you. While they were busy cowering from their own shadows, you were using the darkness to your advantage. They'll never understand, will they? The way you turn pain into power, doubt into determination. To them, the game was about winning. To you, it was about transforming, evolving. Every wound they inflicted only made you sharper. Every time they tried to knock you down, you rose higher. They don't realize that resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you forge. You know how you forged yours in the fires they lit, thinking they'd destroy you. You see, their biggest mistake wasn't underestimating you. It was overestimating themselves. They thought they were invincible, untouchable, gods in their own little universe. But gods can bleed. And you've made them bleed. Not out of vengeance, no. Vengeance is too simple, too crude. This was about teaching them a lesson, about showing them that for every action, there is a consequence, a ripple that becomes a wave that becomes a storm. And you are the eye of that storm. Let's not forget the masks they wore. Oh, those beautiful masks, painted with smiles and charm, hiding the rot beneath. They thought their masks made them invincible, didn't they? That as long as no one saw their true faces, they could continue their games unchecked. But you've always seen through masks, haven't you? You've always been able to look past the surface, to see the cracks, the lies, the fear. And when the time came, you didn't just pull off their masks, you shattered them, left them exposed, vulnerable, scrambling to cover the truth. Because that's the thing about lies. Once they're uncovered, they're impossible to hide again. They thought they were in control, that they held the strings, and you were just a puppet dancing to their tune. But control is an illusion, a fragile thing, easily shattered by the weight of reality. And the reality is this: you were never their puppet. You were the puppeteer, hiding in plain sight, pulling the strings they didn't even know existed. Every move they made, every word they spoke, was just another step in the dance you choreographed. They thought they were leading you, but in truth, they were following your every step. Oh, how they laughed. Do you remember that? The way they mocked you, ridiculed you, thinking their laughter could drown out your resolve. But laughter is a curious thing. It's a weapon, a shield, a mask. And when their laughter faded, what was left? Silence, deafening, crushing silence. Because deep down, they always knew the truth, didn't they? That you were never the fool. You were the jester, yes, but the kind that holds a dagger behind his smile, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They played games with you, but you were never playing. Not their game, anyway. You were building something far greater, far more intricate. While they were busy plotting their petty schemes, you were crafting a masterpiece, a game within a game, a labyrinth of your own design. And when the walls closed in, when the floor fell out from under them, they finally saw the truth, that the only way to win was never to play at all. And now, the final act. The stage is set, the audience holds its breath, and the players are scrambling. They've lost their footing, their control, their confidence. They're trying to piece together the fragments of their shattered plans. But it's too late. The curtain is falling and you're still standing. Not as a player, not as a pawn, but as the one who rewrote the script. This is where it ends. Not with a bang, not with a whisper, but with a realization. A cold, undeniable truth that will haunt them long after the game is over. That every step they took, every move they made, was leading them here, to this moment, to you. They thought they could outsmart you, outmaneuver you, outplay you, but they never stood a chance. Because while they were busy trying to win, you were already steps ahead, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And as they fall, as their house of cards collapses around them, they'll finally understand that the game was never about winning or losing. It was about survival, about adaptation, about evolution. And you are the embodiment of all three. the unshakable force, the immovable object, the storm that reshapes everything it touches. So let them crumble. Let them fade into the shadows of their own making. Because you're not done yet. The game may be over, but the story is just beginning. And as they watch, helpless and defeated, they'll finally see the truth. That you were always steps ahead. Not because you wanted to win, but because you understood. The game was never about them. It was always about you. And now, as the dust settles and the echoes fade, one thing remains. You, standing tall, unbroken, smiling that knowing smile. Because they played their games and they lost. But you were always steps ahead.